Okay, so there's a video that I've been wanting to make for quite a while, and it has to do with the process of buying bags. Now, when it comes to buying bags, I feel like depending on the company and depending on what you want to buy, there can be some red flags that you might want to look out for. So I've asked some friends that also review and collect bags. I've come up with my own. I came up with like 4 or 5 things to look out for that I would call bag buying red flags, and I wanted to share those with you. So maybe on the next time that you're going to buy a bag, you can use these tips to see if it's not a bag or a company that maybe you should be putting your trust in. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first red flag that I want to talk about are the cheap Amazon knockoffs. Now, a lot of times a bag company like Pete Design or Gravel or Wandrd will release a bag and it's a really well thought out design made from good materials, and they put a lot of thought and effort into it. And then cue in some Amazon company doing a cheap knockoff of it. So if you see a bag that looks like something you've seen before from one of those major companies, or even one of the small Kickstarter startup companies, and you see it on Amazon, and usually that bag would be priced for, let's say, $180. Right, say it's a Wandrd bag priced for $180, and you go on Amazon and you see it for $50. And you think to yourself, oh, well, it's basically the same thing because it's the same design, but I'm gonna save myself $100. In the long run, you're gonna hurt yourself because that bag is not made from the same quality materials, hardware, definitely doesn't have the same design, and they are not gonna care about your customer service experience. So if you are looking for a cheap camera bag or a cheap travel bag or a cheap daily carry bag, instead of going straight to Amazon and getting one of the knockoffs, look at one of the brands that I've reviewed or another reviewer has reviewed, find one that's within your budget and go for something that's gonna be made from those high quality materials, hardware, and the whole 9 yards. And if you'd like some suggestions and you give a price range, you can always shoot me an email or let me know down in the comments below and I'll help you find the right bag for you. And another red flag that I would look out for is the consistency within the brand. So a lot of times companies, whether they're big or small, started off as a crowdfunding or not, will do Kickstarter campaigns. And Kickstarter campaigns can sometimes be a great tell at the customer service, quality, and expectations a company sets when it comes to their bag. A good example of this would be like Wandrd. I've supported every single Wandrd Kickstarter campaign from the beginning of the Perverkey pack. And I've never had any issues with customer service, asking for updates on tracking, getting my product within a good time frame, all of those. Same with some other companies. But then you get those ones here and there where you start to see a consistent pattern of they do this Kickstarter campaign, they set a deadline, and months and months and months and months pass. Another thing you want to look at is how often they're updating the people that pledge to those Kickstarter campaigns, because a lot of times what you'll see is a bag company will do a Kickstarter and they'll promise this product, they'll give no updates, but they'll continue to push all the other products that are on their website for people to buy, whether it be through ads or updates or on their stories on Instagram or Twitter or whatever it might be. And you're like, well, what about the bag that I backed a year and a half ago? Is that still coming out? Because I've sent emails with no response, I've commented with no response, and you guys haven't updated us, but you're still promoting this other pack, and I'm a little confused. That is a great sign on not only the customer service, but like I said, the expectations that a company sets for you. If you're upset because you haven't gotten updates in weeks or months, or comments back, or answers to your emails, whether it be through a Kickstarter campaign or not, it could just be going through the regular site of the company, that is a huge red flag on the customer service, because if their customer service isn't exactly as good as it should be, if you have any issues with that bag, or if it's not what you want and you want to do return, it's going to be a nightmare. I've dealt with this before with brands, and it is nothing that you want to get involved with, because it's only going to cause headaches no matter how good you think that product is. If the company fails to set the expectation of good customer service and high quality, it's not going to be worth it. And another good red flag that I personally would look out for is reviewers that have said they had bad experience with the bag companies themselves. I've talked to some other review channels that have reached out to bag companies for reviews, or they've been offered reviews, and they provide constructive criticism back to said company, and that company gets upset. That is a huge red flag. If you're asking somebody to review a product for you, whether they're a YouTuber or on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and you get upset at the criticism that they give you in that review when they make it clear it's going to be their own personal opinion, and they offer constructive criticism to fix those, and they get upset, that is a huge red flag. So one of the things that I like to do, especially when I started off before I had my own YouTube channel and I was doing this myself, is I would reach out to some of these review channels. I just stepped in some water. But I would reach out to these review channels myself and ask them, hey, did you have any issues with this review? I noticed you pointed out this and this that were kind of negative. Did they say anything about that? Were they receptive of that? Did they accept that and go, okay, maybe that's something that we can work on? If they said no, actually they didn't even comment on it, or they didn't say anything, that's also fine. If they don't say anything about it, then that means that they're either okay with it or they don't care. But if they come back and they go, hey, you know, you said that our zippers were this, or that our comfort was this, or that this pocket doesn't work like this, and we didn't like that. It's constructive criticism. If you ask for an opinion and you get upset, you can't be mad at the person when they gave you their honest opinion, especially when it comes to an honest review that's gonna go on a platform where hundreds or thousands or maybe even millions of people might see it. Honest opinion from reviewers like myself and other channels are going to be honest and brutal. Now, I personally don't always go into the negatives of a bag, because if there are negatives, but I feel like the positives outweigh those, then I don't typically hit on those as hard. Now, with that being said, other channels do it differently. So I would always encourage you to check out multiple channels and look at more than just one review of a product before you pull the trigger on it. That is always one of the best ways you can approach it, even if I'm your favorite, or if Chase is your favorite, or Bo, or Pack Hacker, or whoever it might be, or Rush Faster, or one of the other channels. Always look at a couple different and see if there's any similarities on their experience working with a brand or just in that bag in general. Another big bag buying red flag for me personally, especially when I first started off collecting, was the bags that I would see on Amazons, the really cheap, poorly made. Now this is different than the ones that are copies of other bags. I'm talking about just Amazon Tech bags or just Amazon Basics in general. I mentioned the Amazon Basics bag that I bought in the beginning, but overall, all the Amazon bags that I have tried have really fallen short of what I would consider to be a good bag. Yes, if you're in a pinch and you need a quick $30 camera bag, could you make that work? Absolutely. Is it gonna be worth it? Maybe, if you're not going to use it that much, but if you're only going to use it maybe once or twice, then sure. But if you plan on using it long term, then no, I can't say that I think it's going to be worth it at all, because ultimately those Amazon bags come from a company that wants to make money, and they want to do it the best way they possibly can, which means cutting the corners on high quality materials and hardware, like I mentioned on the copycats. But this could go for any bag, especially the ones that are very techy, the ones that have those spots where you can put your portable charger on the inside and then plug your charger on the outside. Almost every single one of those that I have tried and used, they have failed within a couple of tries, just within a couple uses of plugging that in and trying to get my phone to charge while I'm in the airport or while I'm out and about by having my portable charger on the inside of the bag. It never works. The over-engineered bags never really work that well, which is another red flag. And I'll just kind of loop these two in together. If your bag is extremely over-engineered to the point where the pockets almost seem overwhelming, or the functions on the bag seem overwhelming and almost like they're too much, that's usually a good sign that whoever created that bag over-engineered it without fully understanding and comprehending what makes a bag special and unique. Sometimes being minimal and being as subtle as possible can be really good. And the bag that comes to mind when I mention that is the Battery Supply Running Pack. I've sung the praises of that bag for a while because it is a back to basics day bag that's great for college, school, work, travel, carry-on, whatever it might be, and it is perfect. It's very minimal on the pockets, it's great on the organization that it does have, and it doesn't try to do too much. So one of the things that I always look out for is bags that are over-engineered and bags that are made from materials that I know are gonna fall apart. If they're not high quality materials, they're not that perfect hardware, that good hardware, or the zippers that you know are gonna last, then it's just not worth it. Now, some companies like Monarch, a big fan of them, they'll use high quality zippers that aren't YKK. Just because a bag doesn't have YKK weather guard zips does not mean that the quality of those zippers are bad. It just means that they went with a different brand. Now, however, with Amazon Basics and the Amazon bags that I've tried, they have not used either high quality or weather guard YKK zips. They have just used cheap, poor zippers that I feel like a toddler could probably engineer better than them, which results in a lot of failure in those bags. And that is something that you definitely want to look out for. And that's pretty much going to wrap up what I would consider bag buying red flags. There's not a lot of them, but basically anything that you're going to look for and you're going to try to buy, just make sure it fits the criteria and the company seems solid enough to answer the questions and give you the customer support, and the bag is going to be made the way that you believe it should be, because those are what ultimately are going to matter. Now, you might find a company that maybe one of these checks the box on, but you still have a great experience, and that's totally fine. This isn't a blanket. This could be a here and there kind of thing. But overall, if you're gonna be buying a bag, these are what I personally would look out for and suggestions that would help you along your way when it comes to making that decision on a bag or a brand that you want to support and follow. There are tons of ones on this channel that I have loved, supported, followed, and I will absolutely continue to love, support, and follow. So if you have any of those that you have questions about, or if you want to look into any more of those, I know not only my channel, but some of the other channels that I've mentioned also have reviews on them, and I would highly encourage you to look into them. Doing your own research and doing a good amount of research before pulling the trigger on something that's supposed to last on a daily basis for multiple attempts and multiple occasions and multiple uses is very important. And I truly do believe that when it comes to buying something like a camera bag or a daily carry bag or even a travel bag, that you really should put that extra research into it, especially the company, the materials, the design, the output, the organization. All of that matters because it's something that's going to last for a really long time. This isn't like just a pair of sunglasses, or I mean, sunglasses are supposed to last a pretty long time too, but insert example of something that you would buy that doesn't really last a long time because you're going to buy multiple of them. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but you get where I'm going with this. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about any of the things that I mentioned in this video, or about how to look out for anything or any other further explanations, feel free to shoot that in the comments below, or you can shoot me an email, odiematthewsbags@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to help you out and give you any kind of assistance that I can. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all of that good nonsense. And thank you guys again so very much for all the love and support, and I will see you next time.